Universities, that's all part of this, like anything else. Anything worth doing is going to be fucking hard. It's going to cost money. It's going to cost time. It's going to cause you to have to put more effort into this than you've ever anything you've ever done. Weak people don't survive in this industry. Unorganized, and younger, you're going to do the same shit I did when I was that humanity in me is still there, but you're going to feel what it feels like to know what you know. And nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can make you forget about it. They can't discount it. They can't say it doesn't work. Who gives a fuck how many people are going to doubt you? Listen, you start making $50,000 a fucking month. How many people will it take for you to be convinced that what you're doing is bullshit? How many people will it take for you to be convinced that you making over 6 figures every 6 fucking months consistently? How many people will it take for them to convince you that what you're doing is a waste of your fucking time? How many people does it take you to do that? There ain't enough. There ain't enough. And you're going to understand you're bulletproof. Who gives a fuck who likes you and doesn't like you? Who cares? Is it going to change how you sleep, where you sleep, how you eat, how you raise your children? No. What you do with your money is your fucking business. You don't owe anybody an explanation what the fuck you're going to do with your money. None. But they're all going to tell you what you should be doing with it, what you shouldn't have done with it. So don't even invite them into the conversation. You got to keep those types of people, which is the public, the social media fucking clowns. They're all going to pretend they know something better, and they ain't bringing shit to the discussion. To let them influence anything in your development is stupid. When I was a 20-year-old, knowing this stuff makes you feel immortal. Arrogance, pride. And when you get older and you have a family and you lose family members, you lose children, that stuff weighs on you, and your view about how you keep score in life changes. It's not about how much money you make and how much you have in the bank. And I want to be able to know that I've done as much as I can within the scope of my capabilities. Because I don't claim to know how to teach the best way. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. I've prayed all the time because I know what it feels like for me to live like this. 50 years old and 1,000 thoughts in my head all the time. And when I was younger, it was all violent thoughts. You would look at me and think, wow, this boy's quiet. He's so pleasant. He's well-mannered. But I had homicidal thoughts in my head all the time because I didn't want to be where I was. I felt uncomfortable, claustrophobic, pressure, anxious, not knowing that they were chemical imbalances. And how do you articulate that as a kid? You don't know how to. So you stay quiet. You say nothing. Too much emphasis is placed on image. And I don't want any of you as my students that become good at this fall victim to that stuff. You can go into it with all the right mindset like I did. All I care about is make $1,000 a month and I'll retire at 40. And then when you taste real money real fast, that stuff changes you real easy. And then when you make it known to people around you, your friends and your family, And they bring in their views about what it is that you should be doing and how you should do this and do that. And they can't even make their bills. They can't even get their car fixed because they don't have enough money. And you're making what they earn in 4 months in a day. And they're going to tell you what you're supposed to be doing. And they get angry because you're not listening to them. How many times do you have to listen to that before you blow up in their face and tell them about themselves? That's what I did. And I wish I could go back in time and take it away. Because those words cut. Your family members, they love you. Your friends, they love you. But they're not going to love you doing better than them. That's a rare quality in a person. And some of you are going to experience that, unfortunately. So the best thing you can do is mind your own fucking business. And don't let anybody else mind yours. Meaning, don't talk about what you make. Don't talk about what you're doing. Don't plan on sharing what you're planning on doing. The only thing you're doing is inviting people that are not doing it, won't understand what you're doing. They don't have the capabilities to even pursue it, because if they did, they'd be doing it themselves. Proof of that, as soon as you tell them you're trading, oh, you're going to lose your ass. That's a pipe dream. They just communicated their view of it, which they adopted from somebody else because they've never done it. Ask anybody that's making money today if you should pursue what you're doing. Fucking right you should. Abso-fucking-lutely you should. Why is it taking you this fucking long? Why aren't you already fucking trading? That's the response you're going to get from people that are successful. Get the fuck in here and let's go. You're missing out. Let's go. They can't stop you from doing this, folks. Until they turn the markets completely off, they shut the show down completely, there is no way they're going to stop you from doing what I'm teaching you. There's no fucking way they can. That's the understanding you get. Once you see what it is I'm teaching you, there's no fucking way that they can stop you from doing this. There's no reason for you to fear it not working in the future. This is how the markets fucking work. How hard is that to understand? Like, this is it. This is the source. This is it. You're going right to where the rubber meets the road. Returns back to a fair value gap. Look for a pool of liquidity on the 1 or 5 minute chart. 5 handles. Done. But what if it goes 30? Who gives a fuck? You're aiming for 5. 5. Okay? You're doing this to make money. You're not doing this to impress people on fucking social media. That's what some of you are more, you're more focused about that. That's the driver for you, because that gives you what? Significance. And I understand that wholeheartedly. Believe me, I understand that. But that is a pursuit that's wasted. You want to be making money. That's why you're here. You're not in here to impress anybody. You're here to make fucking money. And you can't make fucking money if you are not consistently doing the same things. And how do you do that? You have to have a goal. When you have that moment of astonishment where you can see these things before they happen, and you know where they're going to key up on, where the highs and lows are going to form, where the setups are going to form, and all you got to do is wait for the time of day when it's going to form. There's nothing that you can use in terms of words to describe it. It's that moment of what feels like real magic. It feels like all the planets aligned, like everything finally makes sense. And it's a weird epiphany that I still am always trying to find a way to articulate it, and I can't, because none of the words I could string together won't even come close. It feels like you can finally see it. The thing that you don't even know what you're looking for, which makes no sense, you listening to me right now, and I'm hearing my own words. It doesn't reach far enough. It doesn't, because it gives you a sense of empowerment that when you experience it and you start living it and you can see it repeating all the time, if you communicate the level of confidence you have in it, you're going to sound arrogant too. You're going to. And at some point you're not going to give a fuck what people think, because you don't have time to explain it. And at 50 years old, I don't have time to explain it. Okay, I don't have a way of explaining it where you're gonna have to experience it yourself. And some of you have been experiencing it. Students that have gone through mentorship, they have experienced it. They make real fucking money. They don't give a shit whether you believe them or not. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. None of that matters. Their life is completely and permanently fucking changed for the positive. They don't give a rat's ass. Who's making videos about what? Who's talking about what? They don't give a shit. When you start making money, be honest now. Who's going to be the one that gives a fuck what anybody else thinks when you start making bank? Name the person you're going to give a fuck about hearing from when you start making 6 figures a year. Who's going to be the person that's going to make you feel bad about doing that? Is there anybody you can name? Because chances are you're probably typing nobody. Yep, nobody. That's the person that's going to influence you. Because none of this is going to matter. Anybody's opinion about what you're doing when you're being successful matters not. And there's nothing wrong with living like that. Being successful is always going to have some measure of other people being angry that they couldn't do what you're doing. And now they've cultivated this mindset that if you can do it, you owe everybody else a piece of it. Because it's not fair. Equality. Here's the equality. I'm giving it to you for fucking free. You all have the same advantages. So do it. Do it. But once you get there, don't be stingy with it. Help other people. Do something nice for other people. I want to hear about that. I'm hoping that I've encouraged that type of mindset in all of you. And when you get to that point when you can afford to do things nice, you don't have to make a big show of it. And I have people that are building hospitals in other countries. I have people that are building orphanages. All these things like that. To me and my family, when we see that type of stuff, that's incredible. That's stuff that really matters. Not, I bought a fucking Lamborghini, man, I had to pay cash for it, it's great. Fuck off. Clearly you can tell still at 50 years old, I am still immersed in this because it is me. Like, this is me. My wife says it all the time. It's like, this is you. This is like, we're small little pieces and extensions and peripherals to your trading. We're the small little extras in the play that is ICT. In the grocery store, we might be paying a lot more money for things today, but it's not a ruthless cutthroat business like trading is. There's nothing like this. And when you get involved in it, you're either going to fall in love with it and fall head over heels over it. Even if you're not profitable yet, you're still going to love it. If you feel that way, I'm going to tell you something. You are destined to do well in this. You have the very thing that's needed. That means the passion and the endearment for this industry. Because if you're a casual, just let me just dabble and see what happens. If I make money, great. If I don't, fuck this shit. I'm out of here. If you lose money and you feel like this is it, this is the worst thing that could ever happen, this decision you made was the worst thing you could have ever done for yourself, the trading is not for you. Because losing on trades or losing an account for a real trader, that doesn't mean shit. That's just a speed bump. Now, I'm not discounting the fear, the regret, the remorse that you're going to feel if you blow your account. That's real. You have to come to terms with that. And you're going to feel that if you have monthly goals. When you first start out, you're going to think you got to figure it out. You're going to go faster, harder than you really should, sooner than you should. And you're going to have that same experience. Every one of us have had regretting pushing too hard, trying to prove something, and you blow out. Let me tell you something. There ain't no shame in doing that. If you blow out, max loss day, blow your account, major drawdown, go into a tailspin, all of that shit is what we do. That's what this industry, that's the common denominator. You're going to lose eventually, but how much are you going to lose? If you push really hard and you try to do Olympic-sized feats and you blow the account, does that mean you suck as a trader? No. It just means that you were pushing really, really hard and you went beyond the thresholds that your account and your skill set could afford. Where's the logic in that? But ICT, you're not the only one who can find profitable trades. You're right. But why are you trying to push with my concepts in an environment I'm not trying to touch? And I've already said it. If you win, it's coincidence. And I know it's painful for some of you to hear that. Like, there's no way. It's not coincidence. It's skill. I'm a monster. I'm being made into a monster. So like you said I was gonna be a monster. Yeah, okay. But you don't want to wreak havoc on your own account. Like Godzilla stomping around in Tokyo, destroying everything. That's your equity curve. You just totally dismantled it. In a short span of time, in the last 2 weeks, how much damage have you done? Not me, not your broker, not the method or the concepts. How much damage did you do? Uh-oh. That's a roll call for responsibility. That nobody wants to take initiative and stand up and say, yeah, I did it. But the ones that are ready to do that, they're ready to learn. I ignored it too. I tried to find some kind of external reasons why I was failing as a young man. And I promise you, knowing what I know now looking back, it was always me. There was no other contributing factor. It was me. And when you come to grips with that and you accept it, it's liberating. Because then and only then can you start fixing the issues. But you have to be able to identify them and stop ignoring them or pretending they're not there. That's the reason why you're not finding success. You're arm wrestling things that need to be dealt with in you, the person. Every single one of my failed students are failures because they themselves won't listen. Where are you in all of that? You have to find yourself, and I can't do it for you. No mentor can. No teacher can do that. You have to allow yourself the time to find out who you are, how you're going to derail yourself. And you will. And you'll know right when it's about to happen. And that's why you're supposed to journal. And for the folks that don't want to journal, oh, I ain't got time for journaling, man. I got money to make, man. I got time to be journaling. I ain't writing books. I guarantee you these people don't make money. Not consistently. I promise you they don't make money. Every high-tech position in the world, all of them, keep data on their performance, KPIs. Every industry, every food producer, every commodity manufacturer, producer, any kind of company, they all have performance stats. That means they're doing what? They're journaling. Now, for the folks that don't want to journal in their trades and their development, doesn't that make you feel stupid? Like you're going to walk through this, no real effort is just going to fall in your lap. It's going to be easy. Why do that? I ain't got to spend time writing in journals. I can't make money on those old moves anyway. Why would I even want to do that? You're going to continuously work the rest of your life. And you're going to be even more miserable because you won't find success in this. And you won't be successful in your job. And you'll be miserable. The rest of your life, you've been relegated to the shared desk with Carl. Imagine that. the last thing you see before retirement is him smiling, saying, "I told you, never get out of here." I'm not obligated to do any of this for you, just like you're not obligated to trade every day. Have you ever given yourself permission? Because I'm giving it to you right now. You have my permission as your mentor to not trade every day. In fact, that should be a goal for you. When you make money and you're new, stop. Let the week close in profit. That's a skill set. It's teaching patience. It's teaching enough to be content with enough. But ICT, it was only $1,100. I could have made, right, but did you make $1,100 at your job after taxes? No. So why are you going to risk it? You're not skilled yet. You're finding yourself. You have to continuously instill this cheerleading mindset as you're growing up in who you are eventually going to be as a trader. You have to cheerlead yourself. You have to do that through journaling. Spend time looking at when you got it right. You're going to need those times. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to doubt your future performance. If you try to trade every single day and you start going in the drawdown, here's another permission. You don't have to fix your drawdown right now. What? Yeah, you don't have to. Who says you had to do it right now? Who says you had to fix the drawdown and bring it completely back this week or this month? Who said that? You did. Or the people you hear others on social media crow on about, oh, this and that. Who's running your business? Them or you? Because if you're letting other people on social media impact your decisions about when and how you're going to trade, you're not running your business. If you're not running your business, who is? The people that don't care about it. And if they don't care about your business, believe me, they only care enough to see it fail. It would be nothing more pleasurable for them to see you fail and go on social media and complain and bellyache. Oh, I did it again to myself. And they feel great about themselves because they're failing in privacy. So when your heavens are like brass and you can't find your way out of a position you're in terms of profit, close the trade. As soon as you recognize that you feel like you got to pray for the outcome of that trade to be different than what you think is already going to happen, because you know you're looking at the charts, you see it. Something in the underpinnings of the marketplace have shifted. You recognized it, and now your conscience is telling you it's time to hit the exit ramp. Just don't take the exit in South Carolina like I did. You have to stop, remove yourself from the risk, and walk away from it. And I was on that same curve once my initial luck wore out in the 90s. Every single trade I got into was a loser. Every single one. I could not get a commodity trade to make me any money because I did not know at that time how to trade. And every loss, I put more on the next trade. And I got pissed off and more behind the next trade. And suddenly I was losing airline pilot salaries in a week. Yeah. Try walking around acting like it's all put together still when that's going on. It's hard. It's really hard to do. And eventually it takes its toll on you. And all those things are completely avoidable.
You have to submit to your own development. If it takes you 6 years, so what? Where else are you going to be in 6 years? At least you know where you're going. At least you're moving towards that goal. I'm a break-even trader, Michael. I can't make any money. It's pissing me off. You know what I see? That's opportunity. Because if you're not losing money, you're consistently staying around the unchanged mark, you got what it takes. You have what it takes. Because you're not straight down. You're getting some when you lose some. All you need to do is fine-tune a couple things. So if that's what you're struggling with right now, be excited. There's no reason for you to be upset. There's no reason for you to be upset. Think about it. You all want to be surgeons in price action. You got to go through med school. Then you got to go out and work next to doctors before you start picking up a scalpel and making a carving of your own living. Doctors, surgeons, lawyers, all these professionals, they go through school and they go through drills and classes they don't want to go through. They all want to get out and collect that paycheck. And you're no different. You want exchange for the time you have in front of the charts. And it doesn't work that way. But those same individuals that go through school, they are book smart, because all of us are book smart. We all know what an open, high, low, close is. We all know what a candlestick is. I don't know what the hell a Heiken-Aishi bar is, but nonetheless, we all know a general foundation of information. But why is it that we are so widely dispersed in terms of results? Because the ones that are killing it, making money, they know exactly what they are going to do. Everyone wants to go on to be a surgeon. And while they're going through school, they focalize and centralize and direct their form of surgery into one path or another. Brain surgery, heart surgery, bladder surgery, general surgery. They become what? A specialist. With my concepts, I force you to be you're a specialist. One way or the other, you're a specialist. You're in med school. You just got to submit to it. It's all part of the process. If you lose sight of the big picture and you get so ingrained and so worried about the near-term adversities and struggles, you're learning. It ain't supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. The fact that you're still listening to this message and I haven't told you a trade yet is a testimony that you have what it takes. You believe in it. You're not believing in me. That's not what you're believing. You're not listening because you believe in me. You know what I'm saying is exactly the truth. You're struggling because you're impatient. You're greedy. You want to make money right now. I understand it. Some of you have some hardships. You want to get out of your job. Some of you need to make the money because you can't make it right now. Guess what? You're not going to be a trader doing that because you're already going in emotionally. Your psychological mindset needs to be isolated from money. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that that's how it has to be. But that's exactly how it has to be. I do not worry about money when I'm trading. I'm not worried about how much I'm going to make. I'm not worried about how much I'm going to lose. I'm worrying about, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing in this trade? That's where my trading has evolved to. Where in the beginning was, how much money can I make on this trade? Think about that. You do it. How much money can I make on this trade? So what you just said is, it doesn't matter how much I got to risk. I want to know how much I can make. That's what that statement says. And when someone thinks that way or says it, that's a clearly out of control, impulse-driven trader that will not have longevity in this industry. Because he's a cowboy or she's a cowboy. And she's swinging for the fence or he's swinging for the fence every single way. And it's not going to work out well for you.
Look around, folks. Shit is changing. The way we do business, the way people are going to work, the way we have careers, that's all changing right in front of you right now. And I'm here to tell you that the shit you're learning ain't gonna change. It's either there is no markets or everything I'm teaching you will keep fucking working. So stop worrying about that. Use the time, pour into yourself, invest in yourself. Because the only thing you're doing is kicking the can down the road farther and farther by you not just tearing into this saying, I'm going to do this. It's going to probably take more time than I want it to, but it's okay because I have set a resolve in my heart, in my spirit, in my mind. I'm not changing. I'm not deviating. And a motherfucker out there going to tell me that this ain't for me because I know it is. The more somebody tells me it ain't for me, the more I'm in love with it. It just means that you can't fucking do it, and it's going to be even more better once I get there and you get to witness it. And I don't have to rub your fucking nose into it. You're just going to see me live better by it. That's the best revenge. That's the best revenge for your naysayers. The people that say, you aren't going to be successful at this. Don't bother. You're going to lose your money. You're going to do this. You're going to waste all this fucking time. Laugh at these motherfuckers under your breath. 2 years from now, shit's going to be different for you. It's going to be totally different for you. Everybody else is going to be struggling to find another way to make their fucking ends meet. You got this. You got this. Every fucking Monday to Friday, there's an opportunity for me. Just like there's a work day for everybody else. In a couple days, everybody's going to fucking work on Monday. And they had to fucking work until Friday just to get the same thing that they got the previous week. Time stolen. You prostituted your life for somebody else to say, this is what you were worth to me. And what did you lose in the process? You didn't see your wife. You didn't see your husband. You didn't see your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your kids, your friends. You didn't have peace of mind or relaxation whatsoever. You're fucking stressed out because you're in debt and you have no way out. Folks, it isn't for everybody, but for everybody that wants to dig their heels into it, it is for you. It is for you. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't do this. You can. It's hard as fuck to get through what you do to yourself. When you stand in front of yourself and you say, what's the point of me doing this? Or I failed yesterday. Or I failed last week. I should just give up. Who's stopping you? The market didn't. Your friends aren't right. Your coworkers aren't right. Carl's not right about you failing in this and also just warm up and tie yourself up to the company just like he is. Company man, Carl. It's you. You have the control of sticking with this come hell or high water until you get it or stopping. There's nothing out there, folks. There's nothing out there that's going to be an impediment to you succeeding but you. It's just time and effort. You have to make an effort, an honest effort. Not, well, I took some notes in 5 pages of scribble bullshit. And ICT's full of shit because, here's my proof. Here's my notes. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. That's not effort. That's bullshit. Getting in here, showing up every day, doing back testing, getting data collected. How many times does this form? How many times does it perform? How many times does it develop a setup at this specific time? How many times does that happen over the course of a week, of a month, in the course of a year with one asset? And realistically think to yourself, if you just got one of those opportunities over the course of the week and you stopped, you exercised due diligence and discipline and said, I don't need to do more. I don't have the experience yet. So if I can get this, I'll stop and study the rest of the week and go at it again the following week. That's a winning trader. That's a fucking market maven. That's somebody that has absolute control over themselves when 99.9 motherfucking percent, 99% of these fucking traders out there, whether they're profitable or not, they don't really have control of themselves. When I was becoming a student of the markets in 1992, really putting an effort into it, not when I was 15 years old by my uncle showing me charts. If I wanted to be real and tell you when I really started looking at price and shit like that, it would be when I was 15. I'm not being, in my opinion, genuine enough to say, okay, my concern, because I didn't give a fuck at that time. At 15 years old, I was worried about martial arts and girls. That's what I was worried about. So markets were completely alien to me. I didn't care. But when I started working a job and hated it, wasn't making very much money, it fell into my lap again saying, okay, well, there's probably a sign to this. I turned my nose to it when my uncle talked about it. He made money with it. So, apparently I must be meant to do this. So I reacted and started digging into it in 1992. But it wasn't until November 5th of 1992, on a Thursday evening at 9 p.m. in my aunt and uncle's family room, that was the moment. That was the very birth of Inner Circle Trader. That was the day I said, I am going to learn how to do this. I might not be a success in real estate. I might not be a success in sports. I maybe never opened up a martial arts dojo like I wanted to when I was a teenager. There's a lot of things I thought I was going to do, and some of the things I tried to do and failed. And I just said, I'm not interested in those things anymore. This here, I never said I fucking give up. I had to quit and take breaks because I couldn't deal with the pressure I was placing on myself. And maybe that's what you do too. But quitting's not a fucking option. You have already been infected with this. So you might as well just fucking roll your sleeves up and say, okay, I know I want to do this. I know everybody else around me says it's bullshit. It's a pipe dream. And it's going to be so hard to learn how to do it. And guess what? Everybody that's ever made money in this thought the same thing, and their friends and family and influences around them were saying the same thing. What was different? They told them to go fuck themselves. I'm not listening to you. You didn't do this and make money, or you didn't do this and fail and learn anything from it. You're just telling me from your fucking Carl perspective, you're a 9-to-5er, okay? You're a 401k, American dream, get into a fucking 30-year mortgage debt, pay all this fucking interest, and consider that success. I don't listen to people like that. I've never listened to motherfuckers that do that. If you're going to work and you have a good job, you aren't a fucking mentor to me. If you have a good career and you go to work for somebody else, you're not a fucking mentor to me. Because you're not going to teach me any fucking thing that I want to do. I never wanted to fucking work for these people that I worked for. I never wanted to work for them. I never wanted to do that. I wanted to go to school, get an education, computer science, information systems specializing, and be a systems analyst. And I wanted to get some experience at a firm, and then I was going to branch off and have my own firm. I was going to do that. That was what I was going to do. My whole point of living this adult life was to be an entrepreneur, my own person. Fuck working for somebody else. And this right here, my friends, this right here, this industry that you're listening to this goofball talk to you about right now that sounds like he's hopped up on fucking goofballs, this is the last bastion of free enterprise. It bothers me that I can't reach everybody because I try. I try so hard. I pray to try to reach more of you because I know what it feels like. I was there. I know what it feels like when you know you can do it, but it just seems like it's just outside your reach. Your fingertips are just almost touching it. You can see it. You can almost grab it. You just got to hold on a little bit more time. Keep doing what you're doing, and it'll happen. Any other time when you're trading your 5 handles, getting out when you're hitting it and you're content with it, there isn't this invisible barrier out there. But then when you start wanting to do more, where if you could be consistent with this just a few times a month, wow, what would that do for your trading? Man, that would really set you apart. Like you'd be top tier. You'd be in this upper echelon of trading. And everybody would look up to you and you'd feel good about yourself. And you would feel like this is really respectable results because you probably aren't really thinking that your 5 handles consistently every single day is respectable when it is. It absolutely is. So there's a balancing act that has to be maintained in your growth. In the beginning, you're scared shitless. You don't know what you're doing. You're afraid to take a trade. You're afraid to lose. You don't want to be wrong. So you're worrying about all the wrong things in the beginning. But once you work out all that stuff by experience and conditioning yourself with back testing and doing demo trading, and you work your way into a very low threshold of real monetary risk when you decide to get into live fund trading, you start with a very small amount of leverage. And the graduation from that is going to be slow, not fast, slow. And the reason why it must be slow is because you don't know what it feels like to do it. When you start building up these larger positions, whether it be a funded account challenge or whether it be now you're funded with a company or you're trading with real money, those things are going to be heavyweight factors on your psyche, because you're going to be constantly worrying about, did I do this right? You're going to know that you did it too soon. Guaranteed it's going to happen. You're going to feel that. You're going to feel it. And it's going to cloud your mind. You won't even be able to know when the market's telling you, I'm not going to do that. But you want it to be so badly delivered into your hands. You won't see it. You will not see it. And you'll hold on to it too long. And the worst case scenario, which is what you're trying to avoid, will actually happen. It will come back and roll against you. And that nice, big, handsome profit that you had that was unrealized, and you knew you should have fucking got out, at least with a partial, you didn't do it. So now what are you doing? You're kicking yourself in the ass about that. You're not ready. You're not ready. It doesn't mean you're never going to get there. It just means that you haven't desensitized yourself. You work up into it slowly. Now, partials, and I'll say this in closing, partials are a huge, huge benefit to, number one, developing students, because it teaches proper money management and proper trade management. And it helps you grow as a trader. It helps you understand risk. It helps you navigate order flow. But there is no, and I'm telling you openly, there is no recipe that's going to be appropriate for everyone. That's the part that you bring into it. That's your personality. If you're trading, if you're pushing a button, the result should be you're making money. That's it. Not did I impress the people that watch me? Fuck everybody that watches me. Seriously, I don't give a fuck if you like me, okay? If I'm pushing a button and I'm taking on risk, the end of that trade, I better fucking make money. I don't care if you like my post. I don't care if you like my management of the trade. I don't give a shit. Because whether you like what I did or whether you didn't like it, if I didn't do something I didn't feel I should have done, or didn't do something I should have done, I'm beating my ass up mentally over that. You could never troll me. Any of you could never troll me as hard as I do myself if I know I did something incorrectly. Cheerlead yourself. Say, you know what? I fucking did this shit today this way and it paid out. I'm fucking hammering it. That's right. That's exactly right. And people think that's arrogant. Fuck them. Fuck these people that talk that shit, because they are not making money. So they're fucking miserable. They're miserable. But you're letting those types of people creep in, and you're trying to arm wrestle that shit. Oh, I'm going to show the brokies, the haters, the fucking ICT retards. That's what everybody fucking says about everything. And that kind of stuff is not necessary. You're increasing the level of difficulty for you to focus on what it is you're really doing this for, which is make money. I've watched both of you literally get into fabulous fucking trades. Fabulous. And then later on, that wasn't enough. You weren't content with it. You went and did more. Or you had open profits. You had it right there. And you both have said, I just want to get a little bit more. As soon as you fucking say that, as soon as you feel that fucking impulse, I'm telling you, this is what I did to fix me. That King Kong moment. That's Larry Williams said that, if you ever get this impulse when you're in a trade and you whip out the calculator and you're like, I'm going to figure out how many, if I do this, if I hold on to it this much more, and if I hold on to this and I don't take much off of the position, I hold on to everything, I'm going to be able to make this much money. As soon as you start changing your mind about what you think it's likely to do, or how far it's going to go beyond what you thought, and I don't know if you realize it or not, but as soon as you say it out your mouth, I don't know if I should, that's it. Close the fucking trade. You are managing your money. You're managing the risk. You're managing your trade. And guess what you're also doing? You're managing the expectation of your audience properly. That means you are seeing something, your audience is watching you, and then now what are you doing? You're taking the action on saying, okay, I am no longer able to focus on this. It doesn't mean you suck as a trader. It doesn't mean that your concepts blow. It just means that you, as the operator, working in that market environment, you now have to pull the plug on the trade. And guess what you're doing? You're pulling the fucking trade at the height of the profitability while you're in the trade. If you just focus on what the fuck you're doing, and when you get these little vibrations that tell you, you know what's probably turning, close it. I've been doing it longer, and I would not look at that as weakness. But you probably think it's weakness. Oh, I got another trade, I bailed. Who the fuck is going to sit around and say, you're in thousands of dollars in profit and you collapsed it at the height of the trade, right then and there, it went further, but that's a failure? Nobody would say that. There ain't nobody out here that has common sense is going to look at someone in a position, start to finish, and they have thousands of dollars in equity and they close the trade. No one is ever going to say that's a fuck up. No one's ever going to say that's a failure. No one is ever going to say you did that wrong. And if they did, they're full of shit. But because you're trying to make these monumental Olympic-sized feats, the real sole reason what you're doing it for, you've made this something other than trading. You've made it an action movie. You've made it I don't know, you've lost the plot. And so many of my students and everybody else out there that teaches, I'm sure you have students too, that have done this shit. They lose the plot. You're in this to make money. You grow from a starting point that's rather modest, and you graduate over time, adding a little bit more and a little bit more. And you may discover that you won't become a 100-handle trader, but you can beat the fucking socks off of 30 and 40 handle runs. And you can find them all week long, up, down, sideways, everywhere. But a 100-handle run might not be your thing. Right when you feel that uncomfortable point, at the height of your trade, that's when you're doing it. You know subconsciously you should be closing that trade. You know it. But what you're really wrestling with is not because you're afraid that it's going to go and run in your favor. You're afraid if it does do that, that the audience is going to say, you fucked up, you didn't get that big run. That's really what's going on. That's what's going on. And you're not wanting to close the trade at the height of the trade's profitability when you're feeling that uncomfortable threshold because you haven't been there enough times yet. You're not desensitized. This is all new territory for you. And it's awesome watching it. It's fucking amazing watching it. I love it. I wish more of you would do it. I would watch the shit. I'm telling you, I would. But when you feel that discomfort, that's growing pains. That's you doing that last repetition to failure. Stop. Don't go anymore. You're not going to get any more muscle growth. Stop right there. Then watch and see what happens. Does it run to your objective where you thought it was going to go? Or does it turn back on you? And then measure that with your journal. Just say, hey, this is what I did that day. This is how much I got out. This is exactly the moment where I felt uncomfortable. I closed it here. And then record what you took away from that as a positive reinforcement. And then each time you do that, just like weight training, you'll be able to add another 2-pound plate, 5-pound plate, 10-pound plate, one more repetition, one more set, and you'll go beyond and grow.
Like, look, fair enough, a little conflict, man, no problem. It keeps your life kind of interesting, and maybe that's on the problem-solving edge. But a little conflict can become a lot of conflict very, very rapidly, and if you have any sense at all, that's not what you want. You know, especially if you have other
I called the
things
course
that are better to
Personality
do, and you
Ethics
should have other
Transformations,
things
and
that are better
I think
to
you
do.
could think about that as a restatement of the idea of being and becoming. And that's what you are. You're, for whatever that means, you're an entity that both is and is transforming. And there's a rule that goes along with that, which is don't sacrifice who you could be for who you are. Which means if you have to choose to transform in a positive direction or maintain your current position, then it's better to transform in a positive direction. Who are you? You're the thing that transforms who you are. But on top of that, you're the thing that transforms who you are. You are the thing that is, and you're the thing that becomes. And you should put the thing that becomes at a higher place than the thing that is. That means you also have to allow yourself to shake off those things about you that you might be pathologically attached to, habits and people for that matter, ways of thinking, all of those things. You have to allow yourself to shake those off, and that's more like a burning. And you might say, well, I don't know what I should leave behind, and the answer to that is that's a lie. You know some of the things that you should leave behind. All you have to do is ask yourself. You'll come up with a list instantly of 100 stupid things that you're doing that you know you could stop doing. Some of them maybe you don't know you could stop doing. It's like, well, fine, leave those alone for now. But there's a bunch of things you perfectly know well that you could stop doing that would improve your life. Everything that makes you anxious or everything that makes you upset is the same as every other thing that's ever made you upset. All those things that have made you upset that you've never dealt with, they're all laying down there at the bottom of your nasty little soul, waiting to pop themselves up in some random utterance, right? And so then you go in there at your peril, because if you're the person who pokes around in that, then you're going to get blasted with all of that stuff. It's going to come out like almost uncontrollably. And then you can sort it out. What's behind the game you're playing? And the answer to that is all the world that you're ignoring. Always. You're trying to do well in a class and you get a bad grade. Why did I get this C-? What is it? The answer is you don't know. Do you not know what you thought you knew? Are you not who you think you are? Do you not work hard enough? Are your values not organized properly? Do you misuse your time? Are you in the wrong field? Is the way you're construing your life completely inappropriate? Are you acting out what your parents wanted you to do and you're pissed off about it, so you're only running at 40% to spite them, despite the fact that they're paying $25,000 a year for your education? When you're in the world and something objects to you, something that matters objects to you, then in the entire unrealized world is in that thing that objects. It's all tangled up inside it. That's why it's the great dragon of chaos. It's everything that's outside of your conceptual structure. And what is that? It's everything that lurks outside of your walled city. Well, you get your C- and you don't do anything about it. Maybe you're a little bitter and more resentful and your study habits get a little worse. So the next time you get like a D+. And then you collect a bunch of Fs, and then you stop going to school, and then you stop showering. Right? Then you end up jumping off the bridge. And so that's how the dragon eats you when you don't pay attention to it. And so it's no bloody wonder that people avoid, you know. It's really no wonder that they avoid, because error messages contain within them the implicit world. Now, the upside of that is, well, they contain within them the implicit world. And the world isn't all negative. The C- can be the best gift you ever had, and that's the gold that the dragon hoards, right? That's exactly what that means. Every time you try to learn something, you're going to make a mistake, because what do you know? So you're going to make mistakes. And if the rule is every time you make a mistake, you're going to go jump off the bridge, then that's not a useful problem-solving strategy. And so when you make a mistake, you don't get to beat yourself to death with a club. You've got a problem. Something has objected to you. Then the question is, well, what does that mean? Well, maybe you're not looking at the world right. Maybe your goals are wrong. Maybe you're not acting properly. It's okay. So the question that arises when an obstacle emerges is, which part of this structure needs attention? And the first answer can't be all of it. Right? Because there's a piece that's broken somewhere, and then you might think, well, let's assume it's a little piece to begin with. That's the right mechanism. Watch the people around you like a hawk. Whenever they do something that you think is good, you tell them. Try to do something good. And creep right back into their persona. And they'll look around and see if anyone noticed. And sometimes they'll get punished for it, and then they won't do it again. So don't do that. But then, now and then you think, hey, I saw you do this. That was actually pretty good. I know you don't want to, because you really want to dominate them. And you don't want them thriving, because then they'd be competition to you, and you wouldn't be able to go complain to your mother about what a miserable partner you have, and you know how delightful that is. So you have to forego all that pleasure if you actually helped your person develop. So you got to get over all that. It's really annoying. It's dangerous, because they might outshine you. Well, good. Then you have someone to compare yourself to. That'd be a good deal. It's really rough with kids, you know, because parents will stop their children from succeeding beyond them. They get jealous, and then they'll put them down, and then they have kids that do not like them, and they'll pay for it. If you aren't suffering from self-imposed misery, and you're only suffering from inescapable misery, maybe you could handle that, and you know, you could survive, you could bear it, and even maybe without becoming irredeemably corrupt. So the goal would be, well, yeah, life is a rat's nest of miseries and maybe it has no ultimate meaning. We could say that if we're feeling particularly pessimistic, but it still leaves one question open, which is, if you didn't do everything you could to make it worse, how good could you make it be? And the least answer is, well, it could be tragedy, but maybe not hell. That's the most pessimistic proper statement. The worst case outcome in the worst of all possible worlds is that your life could be tragic but not hell. You're at your mother's deathbed and all you and all your idiot siblings are arguing. Well, that's the difference between tragedy and hell. You walk away from a situation like that sick of yourself and sick of everything else too. And you know, it's often the case that tragic circumstances bring out the dragons, because the stress is high and all those things that people haven't dealt with, they don't have the energy to repress. And all the bitterness comes pouring forward. If you were all gathered around the bed of someone close who is dying, could you manage it? And if the answer is no, it's like, well, put your life together, because it's going to happen. And you should be the person who's there that can do it, and do it properly. And then maybe you'd find that it isn't the sort of thing that will undermine your faith in life itself. You don't want to be the thing that clings so desperately to the raft that you can't let go when someone comes to rescue you, right? You don't want to be that. So then you think, well, exactly what are you? You're not the chaos, you're not the plan. Maybe you're the thing that confronts the obstacle. And then when you know even further that the obstacle is not only an obstacle, but opportunity itself, are you so sure that this is a problem? Is that the only way that you can look at it? Or is it an opportunity? And maybe you're in the order and maybe you're in the chaos, but those can flip on you, and maybe you shouldn't be in either of those places. Maybe you should be right in the middle. That's when you go down, you see, when you're down in chaos and you don't know what the hell's going on, you have to rediscover the values that have oriented people forever. That's what you have to discover. So for example, when I'm dealing with people who have post-traumatic stress disorder and they've usually encountered someone malevolent, they have to relearn the description of good and evil. Because if they don't, they have no framework. They're lost. They think, well, there's a malevolence afoot in the world, because the only thing that a monster won't mess with is another monster. And you might say, well, I don't want to transform myself into a monster. It's like, you don't have a choice. You can either be a pathetic monster, or you can be a monster with some power. Those are your options. There's no non-monster alternative, weak or strong. And I don't mean strong like dominating tyrant strength. That isn't what I mean at all. I mean strength like functioning at a funeral strength. And that's a kind of monstrosity. And when you're down in chaos, that's what you have to rediscover. You want to be safe? Forget that. That's not in the cards. You're not going to be safe. Well, then you have to be meta-safe. And that's way better, because then you're not safe, but you know how to cope with danger. Well, fine. That solves the problem. And maybe it's even a better solution, because if you're safe, then you just have to stay in your burrow. But if you can confront danger, then you can go wherever you want and you can have an adventure. And maybe that's what you need to do, is to go out and have an adventure. So you don't even want safety, because how exciting is that? Let's say we made you perfectly safe. All that you had to do was eat cakes and worry yourself with the continuation of the species. What would you do? You'd smash it all down as soon as you possibly could, just so you had something interesting and challenging to do. So you don't want safety. You want to be able to cope with danger. That's a whole different thing. You don't get to be safe ever again. Well, so what happens? You get to be stronger. Well, hey, turns out that's a better bargain anyways. I read this piece of work by Jung a long while back, and it was a meditation on the injunction to treat your neighbor as you would like to be treated. And what Jung pointed out, which I really liked, was that wasn't an injunction to be nice to other people. It was an invitation to reciprocity. It was something like this. It's like, you should figure out how you would like to be treated, like you were taking care of yourself. It's like, imagine you had a child that you really cared for, and someone said, well, people will treat this child exactly like you want them to, but you have to figure out what that is. How do you want your child to be treated? You don't want everyone just to be nice to him, you know. You want people to challenge him, and you want people to discipline him, and you want people to tell him when he's wrong. It's like, you don't just want everyone to be nice. That's pathetic. It's pathetic. There's no challenge in that. You want to treat other people like you would like to be treated. Well, then you have to figure out, how would you like to be treated? And while you'd like people to fawn all over you and just lay everything at your feet, it's like, no, That's not something you'd wish for someone that you were taking care of. Then there's an additional problem, which is it's often the case that people will treat other people better than they treat themselves. It's a bit of a meditation on why people don't like themselves very much. I think there's two reasons really, and one is that we're fragile and damageable and imperfect in multiple dimensions all the time. And that often just gets worse. Lots of things get worse as you get old, for example. So it's not necessarily that easy for a self-conscious being who's extraordinarily aware of his or her own fragility, but not just fragility, foolishness and errors. Like, you know yourself better than anyone else knows you, and you might have a certain amount of dislike for someone you know because of something they did, but you know everything you did. Jesus, that's a drag, man. You know, you have to carry that along behind. It's like, really, I did that, you know. You're weak and kind of useless and prone to temptation, and you know all those things, you know, that just shouldn't be that way. And then you're also capable of pretty vicious acts of malevolence, and so you also know that about yourself. And so it's a real existential question for people. It's like, why the hell should you take care of something as sorry and wretched as you are? Despite the fact that you're not all that you could be, the proper attitude to have towards yourself is the attitude that you would have towards someone that you genuinely cared for, and that it's incumbent on you to act as if you genuinely care for yourself, just like you would act towards someone that you actually cared about, some other person. It's a reversal in some sense of the golden rule, right? And it's a discussion of why that's necessary. And also, more than that, it's a discussion of why you have a moral obligation to do that. It's not just that you should because it would be better for you. You actually have a moral obligation to do that, I think, because you make the world a much worse place if you don't take care of yourself. So you should bloody well take care of yourself, you know. It's partly because you have something valuable to bring into the world. That's the thing about being an individual. It's the thing that Western civilization has always recognized, that as an individual, you have a light that you have to bring into the world, and that if you don't bring it into the world is a dimmer place, and that's a bad thing, because when the world is a dim place, it can get very, very, very dark. You need to take care of yourself because you're in the best position to do that, and it's necessary for you to take care of yourself, despite the fact that we're mortal and vulnerable and self-conscious and capable, not only capable of doing terrible things, but actually do them. Despite all that, you still have that responsibility. I wanted to, hit the question as hard as I can to try to figure out, well, why people are contemptuous of themselves. And there's plenty of reason, that's for sure, but the reasons do not justify the mistreatment of yourself. Make friends with people who want the best for you. And that's a meditation on my own childhood and adolescence to some degree. I had friends who wanted the best for me and friends who didn't. And like you have an ethical responsibility to take care of yourself, you have an ethical responsibility to surround yourself with people who have the courage and faith and wisdom to wish you well when you've done something good, and to stop you when you're doing something destructive. And if your friends aren't like that, then they're not your friends. Be careful about whom you share good news with. A friend is someone you can share good news with, You go to them and you say, hey, look, this good thing happened to me. And they say, look, I'm so happy that happened to you. Like, way to be. And they don't think, God damn it, why didn't that happen to me? And you didn't deserve it. Here's a bunch of reasons you're stupid and why it won't work. It's like, that's not helpful. What the other thing people are doing, if they're trying to drag you down, let's say, is they're trying to see if you'll put up with it. Because they have this idea that maybe life isn't worth living and things aren't good, and that if they can besmirch, let's say, to use an archaic term, something that's pristine and good, then they demonstrate to themselves that there is no true ideal and that there's no necessary reason to be responsible and to strive forward. There is inequality. What that means is there's always going to be people around that are better at something than you are. And that's a problem, because you can get jealous and you can get bitter and you can get resentful, and worse, you can get hopeless. You need an ideal because you have nothing to aim at, but an ideal is a judge, and you always fall short of the ideal. So how the hell can you have the benefits of having an ideal without having the crushing blow that goes along with having the judge that always regards you as insufficient. You need a goal, but we don't want to let your distance from the goal crush you. So you got to set up a goal, and then you got to make the goal, break the goal down into parts so that you can move towards it and you have a fairly high likelihood of doing it. So that's a bit of practical, I wouldn't say advice, because it's better than advice. It's some practical knowledge about how to go about achieving an aim. Set a high aim, but differentiate it down so you know what the next step is, and then make the next step difficult enough so you have to push yourself past where you are, but also provide yourself with a reasonable probability of success. You really have to stop comparing yourself in some ways to other people. And the reason for that is that the particularities of your life are so idiosyncratic that there isn't anyone really all that much like you, you know, because the details of your life happen to matter. And so maybe you compare yourself to some rock star or something like that, and you know, the person's rich and famous and glamorous and all that, but you know, they're alcoholic and they use too much cocaine and they've had 3 divorces, and it's like, how the hell do you make sense out of that? Is that someone that you should judge yourself harshly against or not? The answer is you don't know, because you don't know all the details of their lives. And who do you know that you can compare yourself to? That's easy. You. Yesterday. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. So here's a good goal. It's something like, well, aim high, but use as your control yourself. So your goal is to make today some tiny increment better than yesterday. And you can use better, you can define better yourself. This doesn't have to be some imposition of external morality. You know where you're weak and insufficient, where you could improve.